trickle in first.
Sounds cool. Well, thanks for being here, friends that are here. Yeah, I can't. I should just open the chat too, just so I can see. Oh.
There should be a button towards the bottom of your screen that just says chat.
Yeah, I can open it, but on iPad. I don't use my iPad usually.
I have no idea.
So I have like a monitor and stuff I usually use because it's like hardwired and it's better for when I'm working. You know, we have to have a like really stable connection. So the chat in the iPad version of this doesn't look as visually good to me, but I'll actually maybe just use my computer for the chat and the iPad for the image. If you give me a sec here. Because I still want to see the chat. Oh, so then I'm going to join twice. There's going to be 2 of me, but one of them will be no camera. Is that okay?
Yeah, just make sure you mute one of them so you don't cause that feedback echo.
You got it. Yeah, this is how we usually do my loop groups that I work in. We have 2 monitors like this sometimes. Hang on. So basically what I have to do is like join with audio and then leave the audio, so that if you don't join with the audio, there's like a button at the bottom the whole time that's trying to get you to join with the audio, and it's just really annoying. So I have to basically do it wrong first and then take out myself. Kind of a bit of a task, but it's okay. Okay, now I'm in the chat too, so I can say hi. Oh, this is my other version of me. Hello, Jess. Carolyn Tuesday. That's one of my favorite roles I've ever played, for sure. Actually, yeah, it's probably tied. It's probably tied with Evangelion. For being honest, it might be like the #1. So thank you for watching it. Yeah, it's a good show. If anyone is like interested in a really good show, Carolyn Tuesday on Netflix by the creator of Cowboy Bebop. It's really good, and I play essentially the antagonist. I wouldn't say she's really a villain, but she's definitely the antagonist, if that makes sense. And that's like a very different role for me. So people should watch it. It's a good show, and the music is really, really good. Very catchy music, and it's like a nice. What I tell people about Carolyn Tuesday is it's good for people that don't even like anime. Like, of course, if you like anime, you'll probably like it. But if you have friends that are like new to anime, it's like a really good starter anime. So, and I even watched it with my parents. Watch it with your parents. Parents like it too.
It's always good to make something that you don't mind showing your parents.
Right? Yeah, my parents, they watch most shows that I'm in. If it's like on Toonami or something that they have, they'll check it out. Or Netflix, you know. But like some of them they understand more than others, you know, because of anime. so Carolyn Tuesday is and Inuyasha. Yes. Oh, RJ says he can play the theme on his guitar. That's so cool. That's amazing. And yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Inuyasha and Yashahime because tonight Yashahime premieres on Toonami. Boy. Right in the fields.
All right, so we're going to get started in the next 5 or 6 minutes. People are starting to trickle in, pretty good clip.
Yeah.
There's also, I believe this is being shown on the small tent at PortCon itself.
Oh, so cool.
More people that are just in the room will be able to see this, and then we're recording it for later viewing online.
That's so cool.
What I would ask people that are in the chat to do is think of your question, you type it, and then as we go through, I will call on people to ask their questions. You'll get to turn on your mic, turn on your camera, ask your question. If you prefer not to do that, I can ask it for you. But we'll give everyone a chance to essentially step up to the mic. And yeah, we'll work our way through there, and we'll have about an hour. So yeah, just think of your question, start typing them, and then in a couple minutes we'll start the questions.
That's exciting.
Actually, in the meantime, Ryan, if you want, I'm sure people that are joining this panel know about most of your work, but if you want to introduce yourself and
Oh,
talk
sure.
about some of the stuff you've done,
Yeah. I'm Ryan Bartley. I'm a voice actor and sometimes on camera actor as well. But in terms of voiceover, I play Rei Ayanami in the 2019 Neon Genesis Evangelion dub. I'm Hyuga Hisashi on Beyblade Burst Surge, which is the current season of Beyblade on Disney XD. And I'm Takachiyo in Yashahime, which is the Inuyasha sequel, and it starts tonight on Toonami. It's already premiered in English, so some of you might already have seen it online, but it's going to Toonami, and everyone's gonna get to see it on cable tonight. So we're really, really stoked about that. Someone Jess brought up Carolyn Tuesday. I'm Angela in Carolyn Tuesday, which is one of my favorite roles I've ever played. What else? Makomo in Demon Slayer. Shoko Airi in Jujutsu Kaisen, which is the doctor lady. And what else? I don't even know. I play one of the little Kwamis on Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. I play the rabbit Kwami. Her name is Fluff. Oh, Rom. Oh my god. AJ. I mean RJ. Thank you. I'm Rom in ReZero. Who else? I don't know. There's lots of little creatures that I love, and I love them all equally. So if you guys have any questions about any of them, feel free to jump in the chat.
All right. So I think we're still waiting on a couple of questions, but in the meantime, I think we can actually get started, and I'll lead off with some that I have written down. So one of the ones that I like to ask voice actors, especially, is how did you get started in voice acting? It's a unique profession.
Right? Yeah, everybody has a really different story. My story is I was a kid actor, and I was mostly doing stage and a little bit of film and TV work. And I had an agent at the time for that, for film and TV stuff. And they would like occasionally get random voiceover auditions. And I didn't really know what that meant at first or anything like that, but I just like loved any sort of performing or acting. So I started auditioning for that and booking it. But I realized after a few years that like I really wanted to do animation. Like once I because at first it was sort of more commercially stuff, and I worked for Radio Disney as a kid, and they would have like real kids do their Radio Disney, we're all ears, that kind of thing. So I did that. They have an office, and I don't know if they still do, but they did have an office in Dallas, which is, I'm from Texas originally, and so I did that, and then I eventually realized I really wanted to do animation. So I started studying animation and taking classes for that, and watching I always liked cartoons, but studying cartoons, and really, really fell in love with that. And then like kind of stopped booking voiceover for a while. Like once I realized like this is what I want to do, then there was like a slope for a while. But yeah, luckily I was able to continue working in voiceover eventually. Yeah, like that's basically the story of my trajectory. And I went to an arts magnet high school, and then I moved to Los Angeles. I graduated early and moved to LA. So I didn't work for Funimation when I lived in Texas. I get that question a lot, but I was like still really young when I came out to LA. So it was before I knew, I think it was before I knew, well, dubbing and anime has changed so much in the last, in the last few years. So anyway, so I didn't really start dubbing anime until I was out here in LA, but then I went to USC eventually, and I didn't study theater actually at USC. I studied film and television, critical studies, which is like theory, history, and analysis, as opposed to like there's physical production, and then there's screenwriting, and then there's like video, interactive media, and animation, and then there's critical studies, which is like theory, like academia, writing and talking about films. So that, but all the while I was still auditioning in between classes and stuff, and I had, you know, an agent and everything, and I was still like really clear about my goal that I wanted to be an actor, but I just kind of wanted a more well-rounded education about the entertainment industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so I went to USC for film. Oh, I got in for theater actually. Their film school is really, really hard to get into. I honestly don't know if I could have gotten in straight from high school because it's so competitive. But I didn't apply because I didn't know at that point that I wanted to be in the film school. But I got in for theater, and then I transferred into the film school. Yeah, so that's always an option for those of you out there. But yeah, so that's basically the journey. And I was doing voiceover throughout all that time, but you know, I mean, it's difficult when you're juggling school, of course. So, you know, things in my career like took more time. I think in like since I graduated, you know, things have been busier, obviously. Thank goodness. Because there were many, many slow years, you know. It took a really long time for me to find my footing in that world. So don't give up. It just takes time for some people, you know. It's always like every person is really different in their journey, but that's my story. So
All right. It looks like we do have a question.
uh-huh.
RJ, did you want to unmute and ask your question? I will ask it for you. What is your favorite Ram insult? If you can't think of one, what is one that you think Ram would say? Would be cool to hear it in Ram's voice, but it doesn't have to be in Ram's voice.
Well, I definitely do have a favorite insult from Ram. It's well, I don't know if you've seen the movies yet. The OVAs, they're essentially what we call movies in Western culture, but the original animations. There's a moment in one of them where I'm like we get really cold. I won't spoil it by saying what happens, but we're all really cold, and I'm like bundled up in a big old coat, and I'm like insulting Subaru, like um, you know, just like in my freezing cold being essence, and I'm like blah 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 blah, and then I go just die. But that wasn't in Rom's voice, so I'll do it in Rom's voice for you. Just die. So that was my favorite moment because she like does this whole like little thing and then just stops and tells him to die. But yeah, that's my favorite moment so far. I hope there are more insults coming soon. Maybe next season. Who knows? Awesome. Fingers
crossed. You mentioned voiceover and anime as being two distinct things earlier. Did you want to talk a little bit more about the difference between those?
Oh, I don't think they're two distinct. I don't think they're two distinct things. Like there are like different I mean, I think it's all acting, honestly. Like for me, it's really all the same. Like I don't approach like if I have an on-camera audition or I don't really do theater anymore, but I'm maybe potentially open to that in the future. But you know, like the way I develop a character is the same. Technically, there's like some differences in how we do anime versus other things. Like anime we record individually, of course, so because it's cued like line by line and it's to a time code and they have to fit it in and make sure it fits in that time code, you know. And you can't really do that with like everyone waiting, all the, you know, actors waiting around. And so we don't usually ever, there are like a couple random incidences where people have done group sessions for anime. It can be done, but like almost all of them are done individually. And so, you know, we don't always get to hear or see each other's performances. So you're really leaning on your director to have their hands on, like really understand beat by beat where every single character is, but they help you with that, and they they're there for a reason. They know what they're doing. And then when you're doing original animation, you're in the room. Usually you're in the room with the other actors, and they might even let you improv more. In anime, you can't really improv because it's written exactly with the number of words for the exact number of flaps,
Right.
So I improv intention sometimes, like if like I improv not the literal words, but I might change, like improv is, I think is still helpful to me in anime because it helps me quickly like make really strong choices intention wise. If I want to change my what the character's thinking in that moment, and until we find what's really working. But in original animation, usually it's a little bit more, whatever the other actor gives you is kind of like really important in that moment to respond to, and you're just very aware of them and how they sculpt the scene as you go together on that journey, So the director is still also very important in that as well.
Sure.
But in terms of developing a character, like they aren't different. That's not how they're different to me. It's the other stuff that like beat by beat in when you're in it. There are technically some differences, but not in my pre-work. Like I do a lot of thought about my characters before I start working on the shows, usually if I can. And that's not different. That pretty much happens the same. Well, it's different in that if it's an anime and it's available already on Crunchyroll or something like that in Japanese, I'll watch it all the way through, as much of it as I can possibly watch before we start recording, which sometimes isn't very much if it's a simuldub, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
sometimes it's the entire season. So like when we dubbed ReZero, it was already out. Season 1 was already out in totality. So I knew where that character was going before I started. And then the Netflix stuff is usually not available anywhere. So that's completely blind when we do that, if it's original, animation from Netflix. Or original show, I guess I should say. But anyway, so it varies. That part varies a little bit in terms of the information I'm able to gather. But no matter the case, I do as much of that work as I can before we start. And yeah, that would be my process across the board. If it was a live action thing or theater or anything, I would want to basically absorb myself in that world. Like for Inuyasha, for Yashahime, I was familiar with the franchise, but when I was auditioning for it, it's not like I had time to rewatch the whole show, right? And I really didn't know. I definitely didn't know as much about the world as I do now. But once I got cast, I like fully did a deep dive into that lore,
Sure.
so that I could like completely inhabit that feudal era thing, and but yeah, I tend to wait until I'm cast because I have done it before and gotten my heart broken when I don't book, you know what I mean? So we can't catch feelings. Like if you watch too much of a show before you know you're going to be on it, it does hurt. So
Sure.
so I don't do that. And I did it once, and it was just too hard to say goodbye to that. I was so immersed in that world, and then I wasn't even in the show at all. It's not that I didn't get the role I was called back for. I wasn't in the show. And so, yeah. So since then, I also have less time because that I learned that lesson the hard way a few years ago. So I'm too busy now to like really, really do like a full deep dive before we're auditioning. But once I'm cast, like you better believe I'm like fully in that world as much as I can be before session 1, so that's my pre-prep work.
No, that's great. This next question, I get mixed responses on from the voice actors I talk to.
Hmm.
Do you speak Japanese? And if so, does that help you when you're doing your research?
Hmm. I don't speak Japanese. I know Ohio, I know stuff like that. And there's certain words that I definitely know by now because they're repeated so often.
Hmm.
Like, are you okay? Are you okay? Stuff like that. Sir and ma'am and yes and no and all that kind of stuff. Like very basic like words. But no, I don't speak Japanese. And I think I'm looking for. I think it could have been helpful. But like it probably. I'm sure it absolutely would have been. But I don't speak Japanese, so um, but what I'm looking for when I see, we call it preview. When I watch preview of every line, we say we're going to preview. In anime we call our lines loops. So we're going to preview loop 347. Preview 347. That's what we say before we do a take. When I'm doing preview and I'm watching, I'm not listening so much for the words as the feeling, and the intention. So I think I'm okay. Like I think that is like what's most important of the two. I don't understand the words, but like I do, and I have like obviously my version of what they want the words to be anyway.
Sure,
The
sure.
adaptation, the adaptation, in front of me. So I think it's a good system. Like I'm pleased with like that. But if I did speak if I did speak Japanese, like absolutely I would prefer to. I would love if I could do that, but I can't. So but I don't think does not prevent me from doing my job.
Right. No, it's really insightful. It's not what they're saying; it's how you say it.
Yeah.
Great. Let's see. We've got a couple more questions. Uh, what is your favorite song from Carol and Tuesday?
Such a good question. I don't cuss, but you know what it is. If I say that. um and also I really love Angela's uh the ending song that Angela does in the end of the first part. Well, actually, all of Angela's songs are really, really good. Oh, also I like the opening, um, the first opening. They're also good. That's a really hard question, but the real one, the
Sounds like
one I
the
won't
answer
say
is
out
yes,
loud.
all of them. Julie, did you want to unmute and ask your question? Possibly not. That's okay. I'll ask it for you. Do you have a character that you personally felt very connected to, and if so, why?
Mm, Hi, Julie. Sorry that you have an issue, but hello. Thank you for your question. Um, yeah, it's I honestly, in the moment when I'm on a show, I feel really connected to pretty much all of them. Um, but yeah, I mean, Rei Ayanami was like really an intense experience, and I feel really, really connected to that role. Angela is, well, I mean, I was a child actor, so the whole Angela and everything. Angela for sure is the most very really really connected to that one. I think I try to really find what drives each of them, and I understand them through that lens. So when I'm doing a show, I'm pretty like in tune with all of them, and sometimes it's only until like after the show that I'm able to tell like which ones I'm most connected as Ryan, you know. Um, but Ray and Angela and trying to see if there's any others that I really, really sunk into like that. Um, all of them have something that I connected to immensely. I sometimes see them as like shades, like shades of me, if that makes sense. So none of them felt not connected, or else they probably wouldn't have been very good performances. I will say Rom is a bit, because someone said something about Rom. Rom's a bit challenging for me, because I'm an only child, and so much of that story and what motivates her is the sibling connection, and that's the most important thing. Usually season 2 it was a bit different because she didn't remember Rem. Well, spoilers, sorry, I should have said that first, but season 2 that changes a little bit, but a lot of what still motivates her is her connection to other people, um, and her protectiveness of other people. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I grew up with having to protect other people, if that makes sense. So so that is kind of a one that I found. That's not one that I like came to the project having. If that, I mean, we all have a little. It's not like I've never protected anyone in my life ever. Like, of course I have, but like to have that be one of your core character traits and fears and motivators is pretty specific. So and to be a twin is a pretty incredibly specific experience, human wise, right? Well, they're demons, but you know what I mean. Person wise, that really sculpts your worldview, and that is, you know, I mean, that's completely acting because I'm an only child, so I don't even have any siblings. So yeah, that would be one that I found, as opposed to like I brought, if that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, we've got another question. Um, Obviously, Evangelion has a huge legacy. How did it feel taking on the redub for Rey? Clearly, it was a positive and important experience for you, but did you have any hesitations or fears for redubbing something with such a large fan base?
Uh, well, I went to film school, and so I knew Evangelion is such an important text in television history globally, to be totally honest, that like it's in film textbooks. It's referenced. It's, you know, and I was not familiar with what the story was about. Um, but I knew that it was really important to a lot of people. So that obviously makes you take things pretty seriously. Um, and the thing about Evangelion is that it was such an intense experience artistically that I did kind of have to turn off any sort of outside influence, if that makes sense. When I approach a character, I'm really thinking, I'm trying to, especially in the booth, in the moment when I'm working, I'm trying to think only as them in their world. And I think if you start thinking too much about what people want from the character, it's going to, that doesn't matter. Rey doesn't know. Rey Ayanami doesn't know any of this stuff. That's not in her head, in her space. So it was never in my space when I was working. But when we wrapped and, you know, it was going to be seen by the world, then yeah, I mean, of course I was, you know, I was hoping that people liked it, you know, and I was able to step out of that and experience the way that Ryan experienced that situation instead of what I was in. I was in Ray's head, you know, during that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's will forever be one of my biggest honors of my life, of course. Yeah, such an incredible honor, and an experience that, I mean, Carrie Kiernan directs a lot of theater, so it was approached a little bit like that, and we took our time with it. Sometimes with dubs, we're moving really fast, especially in simuldubs, we're moving so fast. But this was not that. This was a completely encapsulated experience where people didn't know we were doing it. People didn't know when it was going to drop. People, there was no date. We spent months on it. It was done so, we were really like trying to find the best version of what it was. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't rushed. It wasn't,
It was meticulous.
it was, yeah, it was really like discovered. And I think it shows. It's a really solid dub. So that whole experience, it was very fulfilling. I will say, like, working that way as an actor, as an artist, is pretty cool. It's cool when people don't know what you're working on. When people do know what you're working on, in other words, like a simuldub, well, just I know less about the project because I don't always know where the story's going, so that's difficult. And um you know, but the cool thing about simuldub too is that you get to experience it with the audience. So, when I'm doing something that we worked on months ago and then it comes out, I'm not in it anymore by the time the audience sees it. So, it's a different experience. But anyway, I hope that answers your question. But it was a really beautiful experience and really intense, and all the things that Evangelion is. It was it was a lot, and I'm really thankful for it. I really, really am. So
Awesome.
thank you for asking.
On a slightly lighter note, in a number of your works, you voiced children and you voiced animals, including a little dinosaur.
Yes.
Did you want to do any? Tell us about that at all?
Yes, I will definitely tell you about. I love voicing children and animals of all kinds. Um, I well, okay. So one of the things that I just got to announce, and well, I was a little belated. The character was actually released a few months ago, but I've been really busy this year. Um, but I got to play a dinosaur in the video game Smite, which I hope some of you guys know or play. And I played this Cerberus, like the three-headed dog, but as a dinosaur with three heads as a dinosaur, but he's like a little cute kid. He's like a little cute baby dinosaur with three heads, and he's really playful and sweet and lazy and likes to like chase butterflies and sleep and eat. And I love just I'm a big fan of dinosaurs, big fan of animals in general. And playing kids is something I'm really good at, but it took me a long time to get really good at it. And I'll tell you, if you want to be good at kids' voices, you need to listen to how real kids talk, because it's not just about like pitching your voice up and like talking babyish. Like, they have like a different kind, like the way they breathe is different. They break up sentences sort of like in kind of in the middle. Like, they might drag out one line and then speed up, and then they do that. Like, they're very erratic. Do you know what I mean? And like, um, but you really just kind of have to like listen to real kids. And I was lucky enough to be on a show. It's called Treat. In case any of you guys out there have little siblings or kids of your own, there's a show called Treehouse Detectives on Netflix, which is a great show. And Tony Oliver directed it. If any of you guys, of course, you all know Tony Oliver. And I'm on it. Abby Trott is on it, who's the main girl in Demon Slayer. And we were working with real kids. A Fleece Sampler is in it as well. And but we're the main characters with real kids, and so we were listening to real kids for like a year, every day. Not every day, but every week. And
It's gonna be fun research.
yeah, like, and we had real kids in the booth with us,
Right.
and so just around real kids will help you like more than probably anything else. But if you're not, or if you don't have any real kids in your life, like I've looked up like YouTube videos and stuff like that just to see like how they talk, and it's just really different. It's really different from the way that we talk. But uh in Promise Neverland, one of the things we wanted to do, Steve Staley directed the first season. Alex Von David directed the second season of the dub. But we were really, especially in the first season, because they're younger. But we were really focusing on like making sure that they did sound like kids, and in that kind of more clumsy way, not like anime kids, but like real kids as much as we could. And because it's kind of a grounded kind of, well, it's not, it is sort of over the top in some ways and fantastical in some ways, but you have to really care about those characters to care about their journey. They have to feel pretty real. The characters themselves, they have to feel kind of grounded. And so anyway, so we've been able to incorporate those sort of techniques into some of the anime too as well. So yeah, that's a few thoughts on voicing children.
I imagine that it's easier to voice children for the original animations than it is for the flaps, for the
Oh,
dubs.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're taking in consideration what I said about like speeding up and slowing down and braking at unnatural points and stuff like that, then yeah, it would be. Yeah, I never even really thought about that because I'm always just trying my best to keep them as real as I can in the moment, and I don't really think when I'm doing a line. I don't really in anime. I don't really think about how I wish I could have done it. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
sure, sure,
So
sure.
like I'm only thinking about like what needs to happen. And so but I guess if we're being like yeah, I guess there are maybe some things I would have said. Although the kids in Promise Neverland aren't that young. We're not talking about like 7-year-olds. Like that is different. You know, they're not that little. So some of them are maybe, but my character wasn't. So my character is more like a preteen, tween,
Okay.
in that.
They're
But yeah,
starting to adopt their parents'
yeah, and they're
behaviors.
also intellectually, especially my character intellectually, are pretty mature. So that also factors into how
Yep,
they speak.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. Um, got a couple questions. What is your favorite romance anime? Not
I
necessarily
have a
one that
good
you are
one.
in, but just in general.
I have a good one for you that I am in. I There's a really beautiful feature film called Satellite Girl and Milk Cow that was produced by New York Audiovisual NYAB
Oh,
Post,
beautiful.
and I'm the lead. Uh, well, I'm the lead female, and it's literally about a satellite that hears music in Earth at some coming from somewhere. She's in space. She wants it strikes her as so enticing and interesting that she falls to earth and takes the form of a human and falls in love with a well she falls in love with a human who through other for other reasons has turned into a cow. Sounds really quirky. Yeah, it's as interesting and quirky as it sounds. It's really a good movie. um so it's on, I think it's streaming if you guys want to watch it. I think it's actually available on like Amazon or iTunes. I think it's on iTunes for a couple bucks or something. um and then you can also buy the Blu-rays out there. And it's a just gosh like a surprisingly good feature. I mean, not surprising, it shouldn't be surprising that anything's good, but like it's one of my favorite pieces that I've ever worked on. It's really quirky, and growing up, like I didn't know that much about anime as a whole, but I watched a lot of Miyazaki stuff, and so this it kind of like fulfilled that in me. It was like a dream of like playing a quirky like kind of intimate slice of lifey um sort of thing. And yeah, it's just really it turned out really good. Well, actually, this is so funny. I haven't I can see as we're going, I see the scenes, you know what I mean? Like when we're recording, I see the scenes, so I know how it turned out. I can tell you that it's good. But I actually it was such an intense experience for me that I haven't watched the movie, and that is one of the only things that I have ever worked on that I haven't watched. And I will watch it, but I wanted to watch it like with my boyfriend, and we haven't had time, and it's been
Right.
out for years. But
It's funny. That's
it's
another thing I
really
see a
good.
big split on.
On
There,
what, if we watch ourselves?
yeah, there are a number of voice
Yeah.
actors that love to watch their own stuff, and there are a number of voice actors who are like, never show it to me.
Oh yeah, like
Um,
I love to watch it, I just usually don't have time. And like um I love watching, like I love it when people send me clips on Twitter. Oh, you guys are my heart, please send me clips, because I want to see it, but I like don't usually have time to like sit down and be like, oh, there's a new episode of, ReZero out today, I need to watch it. Like I don't have time to do that, unfortunately. But the thing is, like when we're working in anime, at least we see it as we're going.
sure, sure.
Every single line they have to place as we're in the booth watching. So I know
Front row
what
seats.
it looks like. At least my scenes, I know how they turned out. I know how I sounded. Um, and some things I watched, like I watched, yeah, like I watched all of Carol and Tuesday with my parents. Usually I'll do it at Christmas. So like, cause that's the only time I have downtime. So, so like at Christmas when I go home, we'll watch whatever my parents like want to watch. So they wanted to watch Carol and Tuesday. Like this year we watched, oh, they actually wanted to watch, Jujutsu Kaisen. So I watched some of that with them, and they wanted to watch Magia Record. so I watched some of that with them. And so yeah, like I want to watch more. I just don't usually have time. If it's on Toonami, because that's so late at night and I'm probably not going to be doing anything productive in that time anyway, I will watch those. Because it's so late, it's just like, it's, at that point, I'm just cutting into my own rest. So like, I'm fine to do that.
Yeah. No.
But like, yeah, other than that, it's like, gosh, it's just been really busy. So I haven't had time to, like, it in the middle of the week and keeping up with the simuldubs. It's like, I'm behind on every show, but yeah, but I do like to watch myself if I can. Yes.
Let's see. You mentioned that you really liked playing Angela. Can you say your favorite Angela line?
That's a good question. Man. Ooh. I won't, yeah. I won't do it. But when, I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but there's a moment pretty far into it where, well, gosh, all of them are so truthful, I feel like, honestly. But the first thing I thought of was there's a moment where something happens and she screams mother. That is a great line. I know it's not what you thought I was going to say. It's not like a cut or a dig. It's not aimed at Carol and Tuesday, but that moment is really important to me. Uh, well, she doesn't even say mother. She says, she usually says, she usually does. And in that moment, she doesn't. She says, I think she says mama or something like that. But it's more about the, gosh, I wish I could say it exactly, but it was more about the feeling than like that was one of my favorite parts. And another one of my favorite parts is that monologue where she's wondering who she is. I love that part. In terms of what you probably meant, just like, well, I don't know what you meant, but maybe if in case you were wondering what my favorite line like directed towards Carol and Tuesday is, I like when she like tells them she's gonna destroy them without looking at them, and she like as she's walking away, it's like she's like walking away and she's like, all right, well, I'll destroy you. Like that's like the gist of it. But I don't remember the exact words. I wish I could, but hopefully you know the moment I'm talking about. But I think I think the reason I like that is because she's not even making eye contact with them. She's just like on her way out, but she like definitely is like, you're going down for the. So yeah, I like that
one. Is there anything else that you particularly want to talk about? Any projects that are upcoming that you're allowed to talk about, or things that just came out that you're excited for?
Yeah. Well, the Demon Slayer movie is streaming now. It was in theaters, a few months ago or whatever, oh gosh, time is so weird right now. I don't know when it was in theater, but I know that I couldn't see it in theaters because I'm in Los Angeles and our theaters have been slowly opening up, but it wasn't in any drive-in theaters near me or anything, and so I didn't get to see it yet. And so, but it is streaming as of this week on Funimation, and I think other places too, maybe. But yeah, that's an exciting thing if you haven't seen the Demon Slayer movie, because like me, you were too busy or unable to, or whatever reason. It's out there on the internet now, so check that out. In the movie, I play well, I play one of Tanjiro's little sisters who is dead, which is not a spoiler because that happens in the first episode. But the movie, she's brought back, which I never thought would happen. And she's brought back because he's like imagining his family is still alive, is basically the gist of it.
Sure.
But my other character in Demon Slayer is Makomo, which is a bigger part in the series, but she's not in the movie. So I was surprised to end up in the movie as this other character, as Hanako. But then I also play young Rengoku, who is, Rengoku's like the main character of the movie, and I get to play him as a kid, which is not a lot of lines or anything. It's a really, really small role. But I was so excited because Mark Whitten is such a good actor and a really good guy, just like a really nice, really talented person who I've met in workshops and classes. I've done sessions with him on some like American cartoons and stuff that I don't think are even out yet, so I won't talk about those. But I've got to watch him work, and he's just so good. He's so good at what he does, and he's such a good guy. And when I found out that I was getting to play like a younger version of him, I was like I was so excited just because of that. So yeah, so watch the Demon Slayer movie. Everyone's, I'm sure, really incredible. That's a cast full of very, very, very talented people. And what else is, Yashahime is coming to Toonami tonight. I don't show up in Yashahime until I think episode 5, so you won't be seeing Takachiyo for a while. And in case any of you are like, what is Takachiyo? What I am basically like Takachiyo fills the role of essentially Shippo in Inuyasha. And it's funny because after I was cast, I watched Inuyasha, and Shippo is like easily my favorite character, you know. And well, I also love Kagome, but I love Shippo. And when I was like watching Inuyasha, is like, whoa, like what a perfect role, what a cool role. If I had lived at the time of Inuyasha being cast, I would have like loved to be Shippo, you know. That's such a cool role. What else is coming soon? I don't even know. Like, there's so many. I don't have the dates in front of me for all the releases of things. There's a few dubs that I'm on that are being simuldubbed right now. So So What I'm a Spider is on Crunchyroll right now, being released weekly, and I play Sophia Karen in that, who is a very mysterious character. I won't spoil anything because it hasn't gotten into her storyline as much yet. So we're starting to see more and more of her. And then there's another show called I let me see if I can say this right. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. Is
That's
the name
whole
of the
title?
show. Yeah, that's the title. It's a really cute show. Yeah, it's a really, really cute show. On Crunchyroll as well. About a witch that I have a very, very small role on it, but it's about this witch that like has been killing slimes and has gotten to be like incredibly powerful, and now she's like inadvertently the most powerful being in her community, and this comes with responsibilities and inconveniences and hilarity, and it is just a really cute show. And I play like a very small role, but I play this character that's like giving them their missions, kind of like she's like the person that tells the adventurers what they can do next. Her name is Natalie. Her name is Natalie. So check out that show as well. And yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of cool things coming, and yeah, there'll be like more stuff soon, I think. And yeah, whatever. And if I'm forgetting things, always feel free to ask me on Twitter. Are you in this? Is this you? Because sometimes I don't know when things are out yet.
Right.
So, and you guys tell me basically this was released, cool. You know, so there's some things that
I
I
can talk
thought
about
were,
that now.
yeah, there's a lot of things that I thought were going to be out by now that aren't. That always happens. And I'll tell you guys,
especially lately.
if anything, yeah, because everything got delayed, you know, because of the pandemic. But if any of you guys are out there, you know, wanting to be voice actors one day and pursuing that, you know, just know that anime happens really fast compared to other things. So like you can work on a video game for years before it's out. You can work on an animated, original animated series, like a Western animation series for years and years before it comes out, or a movie, you know, but anime is just like really, really fast. Like with these simuldubs, you guys like sometimes know like what I'm working on now, which is like never the case for pretty much anything except anime. So it's kind of for everything else, it's like it's playing the waiting game for sure. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, does anyone else have any other questions that you want to ask Ryan?
And thank you guys for your lovely questions. Those were really, really good questions.
Right. It looks like we might have run our way through all of the questions. Ryan,
Oh,
thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I know everyone really appreciated watching this.
Thank you.
There were some really great stories in there.
Thank you guys so much. And feel free to, I guess, hit me up on Twitter if you have any other random questions about anime or video games or any of that, on Twitter, I'm just my name,
Just type
Ryan
it.
Bartley. Yeah, just Ryan Bartley, RyanBartley. On TikTok and Instagram, I'm Ryan Bartley. Same thing, but with an E in front of it. Because somebody else already was Ryan Bartley. And my website is actorryanbartley.com, and my Facebook page is actorryanbartley.com. So feel free to always say
Am I
hi
typing
or
this correctly?
actor. Yes, you did it. Yep.
All right.
So look, basically some version of @Ryan Bartley or Ryan Bartley is generally the way to find me. But
Wonderful.
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I so appreciate it. I wish I was there in person. I know I'm missing the con, but
We are
I'm
too.
I'm sending my love and my good vibes.
Thank you
I
so
hope you
much.
guys are having so much fun.
All right, great.
Bye.
Wonderful. We'll have the recording for that later. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of the convention. Thank you, everyone.
Have fun, guys. Bye.
Bye.